When I was growing up in the 50s and the 60s, old ladies drank sweet sherry and gentlemen drank port after dinner. We saw the advent of the bag and box in the late 60s, early 70s, and that made wine accessible to people, and they started to drink wine, and wine took off. Back in the 1960s, the wine styles that were being made, in my opinion, too alcoholic and over-oaked. And the style I was looking for was what they made in the Rhone Valley in France. That is, wines that were more refined, more sophisticated, and more fruit-driven. And the perfect area to grow the grapes to make that sort of wine, fortuitously, was the Ngambie Lakes district. The first job I had in the wine industry was at a place called Tabilk, and it's one of the oldest wineries. It's the oldest winery in Victoria. And there was a wonderful old winemaker here called George Comey. I was 13 years old, and George didn't let that stop him from giving me some of the more difficult jobs. And in those days, I could actually fit into barrels. So one of my jobs was waxing the inside of barrels, and he exposed me to the whole gamut of what they did in the winery. And I just found that so interesting that it carried on for the rest of my life. And the soils in Ngambie, or in the Ngambie Lakes area, are deep alluvial soils with quite a high ferric content. They're very sandy soils, but they've got good moisture retention. Most of the country that's planted in Australia is on heavier soils than we have here. And again, that contributes to the uniqueness of the fruit that's grown here. The interesting thing about the Ngambie Lakes area is the microclimates that we have here, which are a result of not just the Goulburn River, but the billabongs. So you'll get a different rainfall in a neighbouring area. The actual amount of rain that we get here can differ within a 10-mile radius. It does also result in these cooler nights, which are very important in the slower maturation of the fruit. The varieties that I particularly love out of the Ngambie Lakes area are Riesling. The Rieslings that come from here tend to be a lot flintier and steelier than your traditional Riesling, say from the Clear Valley. The Shirazes that come from here are quite unique in the fact that they are much more elegant and refined than many of the other areas. And Cabernet Sauvignon does particularly well here. McPherson Wines have three ranges of wine. There is our commercial wine, which is the McPherson brand. There is our premium, which is the Basilis brand, and there is the super premium, which is our Chapter 3. The McPherson brand, the best way to describe it is sunshine in a bottle and a fruit explosion in the mouth. The Basilis range are much more refined wines. They do have some new oak. We quite often blend wines, and what we're looking there for is that Rhone style. Chapter 3 is the icon wines, if you like. The fruit is quite literally hand-selected, treated with new small oak, and those wines we would expect to live for the next 30 to 40 years. The great thing about wine is that it goes with good food, and the great thing about good food and good wine is that goes with good conversation, and we have the wines that can do that.